journey go too rough. So you know, girl, I be feeling this love. Even when I'm down, you wanna waiting this up. It's not blessing, I'ma no be luck. Baby, nobody feel day like you. Rara, rara. I say nobody feel make me feel the way you do. Rara, rara. I'ma get that low. Girl, you the best I know. Our next move, they never know. They never know. Money go check low. Girl, you the best I know. Our next move, they never know. They never know. They never know. They never know. My lady, you know me, no fi give up on you never. Wanna be with you forever, 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 forever. Oh baby, where we they go? Now forward and far, backward never. Them they pray make we run down never, 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 never. I'ma get that low. Girl, you the best I know. Our next move, they never know. They never know. Money go check low. Girl, you the best I know. Our next move, they never know. They never know. They never know. They never know. Without you, baby, the journey go too rough. So you know, girl, I be feeling this love. Even when I'm down, you wanna waiting this up. It's not blessing, I'ma no be luck. Baby, nobody feel day like you. Rara, rara. I say nobody feel make me feel the way you do. Rara, rara. I'ma get that low. Girl, you the best I know. Our next move, they never know. They never know. Money go check low. Girl, you the best I know. Our next move, they never know. They never know. They never know. They never know. My lady, you know me, no fi give up on you never. Wanna be with you forever, 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 forever. Oh baby, where we they go? Now forward and far, backward never. Them they pray make we run down never, never, never. So you're the best I know. I want
Check. There we go. Hi, everybody. Good evening. We're back on the Hohner YouTube channel. Thank you for tuning in. This is episode 147 of the Hohner Live. Maybe we're going to do this until we reach 150 and switch things up. Today, I'm joined by the legendary Steve Baker. And I don't think he needs like further introduction. He's a driving force behind modern harmonica, and the signature harmonica, just recently published by Hohner, is a big milestone, and we'll talk about its creation and the musical journey, and maybe also the recent World Harmonica Festival and our experiences there, and a bit of holiday spirit. Steve, great to have you here.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for the invite, man.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Glad you could still make it. I'm sure like December is like a busy month for like every musician, right?
Well, it's some of it is and some of it isn't, you know, and I've got to get ready for Christmas, so that's a sort of family business which has to be taken care of as well, you know. But yes, plenty to do, that's right.
Yeah, are you playing some Christmas concerts?
Not as such, no. I've got a couple of gigs that I do every year with Abby Wallenstein, where we're playing in Bremen and Kiel, and I can't remember where the other one is that we do every year. And Abby's having a birthday party in a week's time.
Oh, he just turned 80, right? That's crazy.
He's 80 today. It's Abby Wallenstein. Yeah, who would have thought it? He's still fit as a fiddle, though, so that's, you know, nice to see. And he's having a big party next week in the Fabrik in Hamburg, where I shall be part of it. So,
when is that?
A week today, the 15th, in the Fabrik in Hamburg. But it is already sold out.
Oh, yeah, I see. Yeah. Because I'm like not too far away from that.
You're not too far away. No, it's just down the road, and it's a great venue. It's one of my favourite venues.
Oh yeah, that's true. Because you also like you got some people standing up there sometimes, right?
There's sure. Both floors will be open and full, I would say, because it's quite a large place, and when it fills up above a certain amount, then you have to open the upper floor. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we just recently met at the World Harmonica Festival, but I think you were also hanging out a lot at the blues sessions in the evenings, right? I mean, it's a busy event for like every artist.
Yeah, I mean, I have just had my areas of clearly defined responsibility there at these things, and I pulled out of participating in competition juries a long time ago. I don't really enjoy that very much, and so I just do the fun parts, which is mainly the sessions, and I have then the stuff in the Castle House in the evenings with a band and with people coming up to jam, which for me is like a real high point of the event. I love that.
Yeah, I think initially I also wasn't meant to judge, but then I did some judging for the jazz chromatic category for some reason.
Okay. Well, there you go. You know, I mean, you know all about jazz. It's,
yeah, and I don't know, like chromatic is just a little hobby. Like, how much did you touch the chromatic harmonica in your life?
A lot. I spent the 1980s playing it all the time because I was working with a German singer, Franz Josef Degenhardt, and his music demanded it. So I got fairly competent on it. I'm not a jazz musician, but I got reasonably competent at playing it. Yeah. And I could play, and I used it a lot in studio, you know, for all kinds of people because they wanted the sound. So I haven't played it for a few years now because it's not really my instrument. I don't emotionally connect with the chromatic harmonica very well, but I got reasonable at it, you know, after having to play it all the time.
Yeah, maybe this is like drifting away a little, but like this is like a song that I play to many people because I love the sound of the harmonica, and I can always tell it's you, and it's you playing chromatic on this Dieter Bohlen song with Diane Warwick.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah.
Like
the song is awful. Melody. Yeah, sure. Diane Warwick. I mean, that was an honor. I was really chuffed by that. But if you look at the video, then you'll see Dieter Bohlen pretending to play the harmonica.
And I feel like he has like a diatonic in his hand.
I don't know if he's got anything in his hand because
Oh,
you
yeah.
can't really see. He's just got his hands in front of his face.
Yeah.
But he must have had a soft spot for the harmonica because through the late 80s and 90s, he booked me frequently. And then he did the whole thing with Michael Hirte,
Yeah.
who, became a pop star for about 15 minutes. So he must have a soft spot for
Yeah.
the harmonica somewhere, I think.
Yeah, he does. But yeah, even when you're playing the chromatic on that one, I can immediately tell that it's you.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
just because of the
The
attack
tone,
and
yeah.
and the vibrato you got going on, sort of.
Okay. But everyone has their signature, you know what I mean? It's normal, and I think that all good players on any instruments have got that. It's just
Yeah.
like something that you develop. If you've been playing for a while, then you reach a point where you sort of make it your own in some way.
That's true. Yeah. I don't know if you are like conscious of it, but I feel like really, yeah, like your attack on the notes is what differentiates your sound to everybody else. Is that something you're conscious of? Like, is that what are you doing when starting a note?
Well, I use a lot of different things. I mean, the thing is, right, I learnt to play as a street musician, having to play very loudly in a band with two or three other harmonica players who would have drowned
yeah.
me out if I hadn't been very loud, and playing on the streets. And so maybe that kind of influences how you approach it. But I've noticed that because I know what you're talking about, and I have a very much a clear attack when I play, and a lot of that is from the throat. It's a ka, k, k, k. It's
Yeah.
that attack, which I use on a lot of things, but also it's because of how I phrase, because I tend to not be generally sort of regurgitating blues standard licks, though I do, of course, play them. But I'm thinking a lot of the time of saxophone players or guitar players when I choose phrases, and that dictates it, because if you listen to R&B sax players like Junior Walker or African jazz people, Manu Dibango, for example, they do that automatically. They have a very clearly defined attack of where they start notes. And I just adopted that because I liked it. I just thought it sounded cool. So I, figured out ways to do it, really. But I guess you're right. Yes, it is something which is a characteristic of how I play, for sure, yeah.
Nice, yeah. And I feel like these tunings that are now included in your signature harp also play this role on their way finding your sound. And I remember like watching like some of the first YouTube harmonica videos I discovered, and you playing with Abi Wallenstein, and it was like this beautiful ballad, and you were playing the country tuned harmonica.
It's As Long As I Can See the Light. I think it's Abby's version of
Could
As Long
be
as I
true.
Can See the Light. Yeah, it's a lovely song.
Making
Gorgeous
use
song.
of like all the different intervals.
Yeah, because that for me was the thing when that was why when Hohner asked me if I'd be in agreement with them releasing a Steve Baker signature model, I said, yeah, I'd be honored, but I would like to be able to offer something different than just an instrument with my name on the cover. And specifically the country tuning where you raise the 5-draw half step, and also the natural minor tuning where all thirds in the chords are minor. I just found that opened so many doors for me without having to reinvent the wheel, because I'm a real believer in keeping things simple if you can. It's like, if it could be done simply, then why do it in a complicated way? And if it can be done easily, then why make life difficult for yourself? And so that's why I ended up using the country tuning, which is this sound here. That's if you listen to the standard tuning, this is a harmonica in A. And the country tuning just raises that 5 draw so that you have a beautiful major 7th chord. And all of the intervals that come with it. So you've got beautiful intervals, you've got full chords. And that, for me, just sort of captivated me immediately because I was hearing all kinds of things. I was hearing sort of 60s Mexican style music, like south of the border, you know. And at the same time, hearing lots of sort of country music, country bluegrassy kind of licks where you can, you know. Where you can just get these like beautiful major key melodies with the chromatic notes in between, which is what you hear other instrumentalists doing all the time. And harmonica players used to always cheat on that count. And before this tuning became, you know, better known, they'd be switching harmonicas, you know. And I mean, there's plenty of concrete examples. Or they would do something which I really am allergic to, which is on a song with a real strong dominant chord, a strong 5 chord, which is just very clearly major, playing a minor 7th. And to me, you can do it in the blues, of course, it's part of the blues, but it's not a part of country music or most folk music or all the pop numbers that I played as a session musician. So it's a wrong note an awful lot of the time. And I hear that. I've got a sensitive ear and I really don't like it. So I was delighted to be able to sort of dodge around that and play things that were harmonically embedded in the songs because that's what my, you know, I've got a sort of, I like a harmonious sound and I'm not that fond of dissonance unless I can control it and steer it and make it deliberately dissonant. That's beautiful. But unwanted dissonance or unintended dissonance, to me, it just sounds wrong, you know. So I was really glad to be able to find an opportunity to just play all these major key melodies. And of course, the parallel, you know, minor key as well without any problem, because that's one of the cool things about it is that you can really you can but you can also play minor. And that, I think, is also, you know, like a great, because, of course, you try that on a standard tuned harp and you have a Phrygian scale, which is nice if you like Spanish sounds, but it isn't what you may be looking for if you're trying to play, you know, the River or something like Neil Young or stuff like this. It's a bit different to the, you know, being able to just play the real minor scale. So that's another great, you know, strength of that kind of using that tuning.
Yeah.
And when they asked me, I said, well, I'd like to have some of them, please, but I'd also like to have a natural minor tuned harmonica, because the thing is that if you have a I mean, you can play in minor keys, of course, on the standard tuned harmonica, but what you don't have is the chords. And it's just the same really as on the country tuning, the major 7 tuning. The thing that makes all of those alterations for me is the sound of the chords, because you just don't have them otherwise. And I'm a sucker for chords. I just like chords. I play a lot of broken chords also as part of my single notes, which of course is a standard blues
Yeah.
technique. I mean, it's like that's what Joe Filisko refers to as dirty, playing dirty. But what he means
It's
is,
also one of the strengths of the instrument. I mean, on saxophone, you can't play like several notes at the same time. So
no, right. So it's exactly, and this is one of the things which I think is really cool to do, is to learn to play to the strengths of the instrument.
yeah,
And one of the strengths is, as you say, definitely the ability to play double stops. And the thing is that you don't have to play the notes at equal volume, so you can just dirty up a note. So you're And the
yeah,
weird thing is that the ear interprets it as a single note. The ear, generally speaking, won't say, "Oh, that's a double stop." The ear just hears a sort of dirty sounding single note, but it isn't. And so that's one of the things which, of course, it's one of the ways when you become a more accomplished player that you learn to do in order to make different sounds, to make notes sound different. Because obviously, if you play the note just in isolation, it's going to sound completely different to when you play it with the addition of a little bit of
yeah.
another adjacent note. Yeah, definitely.
I noticed like in recent years, I became a huge fan of like playing the 6/0 draw with a little bit of the 7. You know,
On a standard tune.
on a standard tuning. Yeah,
Yeah, well.
yeah, but like not doing it too much. Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, it's,
Just
I mean,
just for the
it's a
dirt,
second,
like
it's
not
a, it's
for
a
the
heavy interval,
harmony.
but it does create tension, certainly. It's beautiful for that. And
Yeah.
that's what all of those things do, I guess, because, of course, the cool thing with the diatonic harmonica is that you can not only play double stops with varying degrees of volume of the two notes that make it up, but you can also bend them so that you have the classic sort of, which is just one of the sort of the real key characteristics of the instrument, is the ability to do that, to play moving notes as double stops. It's really one of the unique things. You can do it on the guitar, of course,
Yeah.
but you certainly can't do it on the saxophone.
So the harmonica you just played, is that an out of box instrument or is it set
Well,
up in some way?
I work on all my harps. What I do when I get an instrument new and want to check it out, I'll first of all just play it and see what it sounds like. And sometimes I get a really good one, because there is always variation in the quality between the individual instruments, because they're all made by hand. So it just depends, I guess, what point in the day it was set up and all that kind of thing in the person's working day, And so what I do is first of all check them out. If they're good, then I'll play them like they are. But generally speaking, I will need to tune them, because I'm
Yeah.
really, really fussy about fine tuning, because I need to be able to play the perfect intervals, all fifths, not just octaves. Most people just go, oh, that's minor. We don't want to. Most people just play them through in octaves, But I, generally speaking, will always play all the fifths as well, to make sure that they sound without interference beats. And there we hear that it's out of tune,
Yeah.
a little bit. It's a bit gummed up. I just played 4 or 5 gigs on this, so it's probably had a bit of a hammering and needs cleaning up. But that's so. First of all, I'll always check that the perfect intervals sound good, because I really don't like beating octaves or any other beating intervals. And then I'll have a look at the offsets and see what they're like. and usually now they're very good from the factory, so I don't usually need to do anything to them. But I will possibly lightly emboss the slots,
Okay.
and then I'll do it on all of them, every channel, because that means all 20 blown draw notes, because otherwise you're going to have an unbalanced instrument. So I'll go through, but I'm not a real, stickler for that, and it's painstaking work which can easily go wrong. So I can't say that I enjoy it very much. I don't do it for fun.
Yeah.
It's work. And so if it's necessary, I'll sit down and spend the half hour or whatever it'll take me to set up an instrument so that it'll play a little bit better, just so that I have a better chance of being able to get overblows when I want them, but with the attack that you spoke of before, because I play a lot more powerfully than a lot of players. That's another thing also about the sound, is that I'm playing at a much higher volume than a lot of people do. Because of my history, because of learning playing on the street and having to be acoustically loud. And so that's something where I have to be really careful. I've had loads of very beautiful custom harmonicas, but they were often set up too tight for me to be able to play them, and then they'll stick, because I'm not going to change how I play in order to be able to play perfect overblows. I like to be able to use overbends, but I'm not sort of someone who attempts to play in all 12 keys or anything like that, because that's, again, for me, it just makes life difficult. And I prefer to make it easy if I can. So I'll set them up so that they'd be too high, my offsets. If you wouldn't like it, I suspect. Whereas an instrument that's set up for you to play would probably be too tight for me.
Yeah, sometimes they're even too tight for me.
Well, yeah, it just depends. What you have to take. It's a trade-off. It's always a trade-off. The harmonica is one of the weirdest instruments in the world in that respect, because there's so many little things that affect one another, and where what you gain on the roundabouts, you're likely to lose on the swings. It's just like that. You have something that will overblow beautifully and do all the overbends, but then if you want to go like but with that sort of volume, then it simply is going to stick. So it's really just a question of what kind of music you want to play, I guess, is what it comes down to in the end. It's like, what are you trying to do? And everybody's different in that respect. But I certainly need an instrument that's quite a delicate balance, to get an offset so that it will produce an overbend without too much difficulty, but it won't stick. And that is something which is, I think, a very individual setting. It's tiny increments. You're talking about, like hundredths of a millimeter, if not thousandths. And you can't even really see them with the naked eye. You just sort of do it, and if it looks about right, then you try it, and if it works, then it's good. But because I have completely a pragmatic view to that, really. I'm not trying to prove anything, so to speak.
Yeah, or you got the luxury of like having two sets of harmonicas. I feel like some players do have two sets, like one set which is set up for overblows, and the other one is more like a blues setup.
Sure. There's people who've taken it even more extreme than that. Who was the bloke who used to do all the Hollywood soundtracks? I can't remember. I met him once. He's a gentleman from LA anyway, who's Tommy. I can't remember his name. My bad, sorry. But he used to have sets of harps tuned to different bass frequencies, so that he would have a set from about A438 up to A445.
Oh,
So
yeah.
he'd have about 7 sets of just standard tuned harps so that he could always play in tune with the playback. And I mean, you know that yourself. If you play with a European orchestra, they're tuned to A443, but in the Far East, they're tuned higher, and in the United States, they're tuned to 440. So it's like a bit of a complicated business because you can't really change the intonation of your entire instrument just like at the wave of a hand. It's not quite as easy as that.
Yeah, but like rather have the instrument tuned too high than too low, right? So
Well, that's what everyone does. That's what all manufacturers do. They all tune sharp. And this is something which is just really designed to compensate for how many people play, which is that they flat the draw notes, basically, the bendable draw notes. They flat everything.
yeah.
And that's something where manufacturers have learned to live with that and therefore tune sharp. You know, it's some. But that's normal in the end. There's no other way to do it. You know what I mean? But the other, to get back to the signatures, the other harp that I then was able to persuade them to do was the natural minor tuning, where, like I said, all the thirds are minor, so that you have, instead of having this you have, which I really, really like. I'm a sucker for that, and I'll use it on most tunes in minor keys because it's just. Because I just love the chords, you know. It's just got this this quality, which, and as I say, you can't do it on a standard tuned instrument. So Lee Oscar invented this in about, I think, the early 80s.
And how about the country tune? Like, when did you first
Well, I
encounter
came
it?
on both of them at the same time, really. It was mid 80s. And the country tuning, I actually came upon it. I have to tip the hat there to Richard Hunter, because he wrote his book Jazz Harp in about 85, 84, something like that. And one of the things that he noted in it is that if you tune the 5 draw up half a step so that you have a major scale in second position, you don't lose any notes because you've got the note is then bendable. So you've actually got, you can still play a minor seventh.
Yeah.
So I thought, oh, great, that's good. Then I'll do it, because I'd learnt to tune harmonicas some years before that, because I had to just fix them up. They were, I was breaking too many, and so I tried it, and I thought, oh, this is great. And round about the same time, I was in the US Hohner USA Artists Calendar for 1986, I think, and Lee must have seen it, and I'd met him around about that time, and he sent me unsolicited a couple of his Lee Oscar harmonicas, one in standard tuning in C and one in A minor in natural minor. And I thought, oh, this is great, I love this, and I took to it like a duck to water. I just really got off on it tremendously because of the possibilities of playing much more comfortably in minor keys, because it's kind of weird for me when I hear the traditional blues harmonica players playing minor, because a lot of the time they will mostly either play third position, which can be very minor, but it's, of course, it tends to be a bit Dorian. If you're using just the natural notes, then you've got that D minor 6 chord, which is not everybody's sort of favorite root chord. So I found it really nice to be able to play in minor keys without having to worry about being in tune, because what you hear a real lot, you hear people playing minor in standard tuning, And you can do it, of course you can do it, but it isn't always going to sound really nice, and you can't play chords. And what you hear very frequently is,
Yeah, of course.
which in blues is cool because I mean the blue third is a moving note, and it goes from under minor all the way up to almost major, and it's still a blue third. And so that's kind of okay. If you hear people playing, let's say, the blues standard like "Help Me" by Sonny Boy, no, by Bryce Miller, where's sure, you can do that. And if you're good at bending, then you'll be able to hold it without any problem over even a minor chord, and it'll sound okay. But as soon as you get into seriously minor territory, I mean, if you try to play Summertime like that, you've got to be dead good at bending. You
Yeah.
really got to be very accurate, because otherwise you're going to like the whoops, Sure, you can do it, but you have to be accurate with your bending. And if you slip out, that's one of the sounds that I find most irritating to hear. It's like fingernails on a blackboard, is major thirds over minor chords. I really do not like that. And so when I discovered there was an easy way to avoid this problem by simply playing in a then it just makes so much more sense for me, because you don't have to think about going wrong or not going wrong. You're not skating around dodgy notes, because the ones that sound right are right there. And so that for me was something, well, it was a game changer. I just thought, brilliant, I'll definitely be using this. And I've played it ever since. I've been playing. I first used it on a recording 40 years ago, and I've been playing them ever since. So, I'm very glad to have discovered that. I don't use a lot of other non-standard tunings, though I do use what Seidel now markets as Easy Third, which was invented by my friend Dale King, who used to play with my late duo partner Chris Jones until Chris met me and he lost his job, which was very nice of him to have introduced us. And he gave me an example of this tuning, and I thought, oh yeah, that is cool. And I still use it. There's a couple of tunes that I will definitely play it on because I just love the sound.
So that's like copying the middle octave draw notes to the low octave, right?
Yeah.
I just recently, like a few weeks ago, met Joel Anderson in Sweden, and like we played these in like a low-tuned.
Yeah, I heard that. I heard a duet of you guys playing that. Yeah, and that is that. I mean, Joel plays that fantastically. I mean, he's really brilliant at playing all the Irish stuff. And when he discovered that tuning, I think it really gave him wings, because there's an awful lot of the traditional Irish repertoire which lays out very, very well on that. And especially what it's great for is playing in octaves. I mean, I've got one here. It's if you're playing in octaves. I mean, it's just a cool sound, really, and so I do occasionally use that, but I don't use any of the other sort of well-known tuning variations, because the music that I'm generally playing doesn't demand it. And to me, it's like the music tells you what to play anyway. It's not really a matter of having a plan or anything like that. It's just you listen and hear the tonality of the song, hear the chords, hear the mode that the melody's in, and then figure what's going to fit best to it. So I have really just a sort of pragmatic, hands-on approach to that, because I'm not really, interested in necessarily a theoretical approach. I'm a pragmatist. I just want things that work.
Yeah. How about playing in sixth position on the country tuned? Do you ever do that?
Yeah, occasionally. I haven't used it on any actual songs, I don't think, any recordings, but I'm sure I can do it.
Yeah,
Sure.
it's just like kind of sad that you don't have the root note in the low octave below
The
hole
lower
one, right?
octave, yeah. And I mean that's I remember I introduced that to Riedel Deagles, a very good old friend of mine, great harmonica player, and that was the first thing where Riedel connected with the country tuning was to play in sixth position on it,
Yeah.
because he loved the fact that you have suddenly you've got this B. This is a C harp, right? And you have a B minor chord. You know, and it's just very sort of it's good for that, definitely, but to me there'd be no advantage over that to playing it on a natural minor or
Yeah.
on some other tuning. I wouldn't see what I would gain from it, if you know what I mean, unless there was a specific thing in the chording which meant that there was related harmonic connections that work better like that, and then I would probably try it. You know, I'd use it for that.
Okay, yeah. Let's check out the chat. There's some two good questions in here. I like this one by Pamela asking, what is your favorite sound to make on the harmonica?
My favorite sound to make. Ooh. I'm not quite sure what she means there. I think that one of the things that I really have a weakness for is playing with a tongue block, playing really that kind of dirty tongue block blues sound. I think that that is really beautiful, and there isn't anything that sounds like it. You can't do it in any other way. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? If you don't tongue block, you'll never be able to do that. And also, there's the thing of how it makes you hold the instrument, that you then have to place it against your cheek.
Right.
And
Yeah.
by doing that, you can get the complete enclosure. Which is something which is just, it's one of the classic sounds that the harmonica can make, the diatonic harmonica, so I love that. If
Okay.
that's an answer
Yeah.
to your
Good
question.
answer. Andre is asking, do you think the term breathing is wrong for playing the harmonica?
No, I think that breathing through the instrument is what you do. I think the mistake that is automatically embedded in many people's minds when they think of the harmonica is blow and suck, and that is not what you do. You breathe through the harmonica, and you'll never get a decent sound out of it unless you learn to do that. It's the only way to do it. You know what I mean? If you like. If you suck, then you're talking about, you know, like
Yeah.
dissonant, out of tune sounds because you can't control it. So I would say definitely breathing is absolutely central to playing the harmonica. And I always tell students, on the rare occasions now that I have any, because I don't really teach much anymore. I can't really, I did it for 30 years, you know what I mean? I've had enough of that, I think. Well, you know, it's like now I like to go out and play my music when I have the opportunity. I'd rather do that. But it was one of the first things that I always said to people is, don't suck, don't blow, learn to breathe through the instrument. And just the first thing that you need to do if you want to sound good on the harmonica is just breathe through it without exerting any pressure and without trying to force the reeds. Because the amazing thing is that if it's decently set up, you can really get by once you've got the air column in motion and the reed in motion, then you can sustain the note with very, very little air. You really don't need, there's a...
Yeah.
I can do that for a minute. You know what I mean? It's because it doesn't need a lot of air. So that's something which I think it's important to learn, and you will probably only learn it by approaching it consciously as learning to breathe through the harmonica, my opinion.
Nice, yeah. Art Harp says, Steve, thank you for your harmonica books. Your music with Chris Jones was amazing. Are you planning to write a new harmonica book?
Not at the moment, no. I thought about it. I've made a couple of false starts. But in the end, my feeling, I mean, in Germany, I was one of the very first to start teaching harmonica seriously in the late 80s, early 90s. And I've done workshops for 35 years, or longer. And for me, it's like I really can't help having the feeling it's time to pass the baton on to the next generation and let them do it, because I laid a lot of groundwork which has been a basis for stuff which has been picked up on by everybody who's come since then, and I'm proud of that and I'm honored, but I don't have the need to go out and teach it necessarily anymore. I think it's, there's so many people who have now developed their own pedagogical approaches to teaching the harmonica, and some of it, of course, is based on my work, but that's fine by me. I don't have a problem with that. I think that that's how things are meant to work, is that everyone plays their part, and so you do your stuff for a while, and then it's time to just, pass the torch on to the next generation of teachers. And there's some very, very good ones. So I think that's fine. It's fine by me, at least, because really all I want to do now is go out and play my music and otherwise enjoy life. Because it's, it's nice to not have to really... teaching is beautiful, but if you have to do it all the time, every day, it's hard work. And I would personally rather not be doing that.
Yeah. I'm not sure if I understand this one. This is Richard Lynch. Why can't people go into stores and buy pro harmonicas? Stores used to have bellows to use to test the harmonicas. Now if you want anything with the word special in the name, you order online. I don't quite understand.
The harmonica community is strange, and there is a lot of misconceptions about the industry and about how retail works and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I don't really know what to say to that. I would say one thing, which is that I spend a lot of my time in my work for Hohner, because I've been working for the Hohner company since 1987. So nearly 40 years. And an awful lot of the stuff that I find myself doing is countering misinformation, because there's an awful lot of misconceptions about the instrument, how it works, the industry, how it works. So I see that as quite an important part of the work that I do for Hohner, is to counter that by providing hard information, solid, well-founded information. And that's always what I've tried to do, because the harmonica has been an instrument surrounded by many misconceptions and by a lot of bullshit, because there's plenty of people out there who make the most absurd claims, where I just say, man, if you can fool people online with that, then good on you, but it won't stand up to reality, And there's a lot of very opinionated stuff. So it's, I kind of try to find a middle path through that, and not support misconceptions, to try to dispel misconceptions, because I think that that's important to do. I believe in basically do good things and tell people about them is my advice to all harmonica manufacturers, is do good stuff and talk about it, because what you really don't want is people believing myths about what you do, or how, why you do things the way you do. And it's much, much better to be open and transparent and explain things to people, which is what I try to do.
Yeah. I think now it gets a little more clear. He's just like New England stores have no products. Like in his territory, there aren't harmonicas in music shops. Yeah.
Well, I totally understand that, but if you find, I mean, yes, but where do you buy everything else? You know, I mean, where did you last buy clothes, a pair of shoes? Yeah, you know, I mean, I order my olive oil online. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
certainly true. It would be lovely to be able to go into a music shop and try stuff out, but the fact is that the internet has killed music retail stone dead, and it's a miracle that any of these old school music stores can survive at all. And the only ones that I see that are thriving are niche markets. They're specialist stores, like they sell high-end acoustic guitars or, you know, brass instruments, and they do repair brass, you know, or they have a real good service department or stuff like this. But the old style music store where you used to have the bellows on the counter and you could put the harmonica on it and test it, I mean, that is a thing of the past. But I would say one thing to those little bellows devices: they are pretty much a dead loss if you want to find out if you've got a decent instrument or
Yeah.
not. The harmonicas are tested before they leave the factory to make sure every reed sounds. Whether every reed sounds good is not something that you can establish without playing it, and you certainly can't establish it on that little bellows. I've met one person who could actually play tunes on the bellows.
Yeah.
And that, yeah, that was Willy Danica, who was, he came from near Trossingen, where the Hohner company is based. But he emigrated after the war to England, and his son is Tony Danica, who makes custom harmonicas in Britain. And Willie was the tech for Hohner UK for decades. He was a beautiful guy, really, really nice old man. And he could put your harmonica on the bellows and play tunes on it. It was absolutely amazing. He's the only person I've heard who could do it. But honestly, it's a joke, really. If you want to find out if the instrument's any good, play it. And that may mean that you have to buy it. So it depends on the retailer that you're connecting with, really. Difficult, I
yeah.
understand the problem.
Wow, there are like more and more questions now in the chat. These are too many almost. I also wanted to talk about the World Harmonica Festival.
We
So,
can.
as a co-director of the festival now, like, how do you see its evolution over the years? I mean, there was like this little gap 4 years ago, but now everybody met up again in Trossingen on site. Like, for me, it felt like an eternity.
It was a long time, but I had the great advantage that in the intervening 3 years, I put on the harmonica masters workshops in
Right.
Trossingen, which I have to say I enjoy more than the World Harmonica Festival. I like the World Harmonica Festival because for me it's a fairly easy number now that I don't have to sit on juries. I can just run sessions and I help with the PR, and I'm there to talk to if people need, you know, someone to advise them on stuff. But so I didn't have the same kind of withdrawal symptoms as people who, you know, had to go for 8 years without being able to dock onto that again. Because it is, I mean, the thing about it, and that is what the World Harmonica Festival and the Harmonica Masters workshops both have in common, is the sense of community. And that is really beautiful. That's the really great thing about it, that you have all of these people from all over the world who are bound together through their love of the instrument and of the music that they play on it. And harmonica players are one of the most inclusive groups of musicians. I mean,
Yeah.
if you were to go to a concert violinists convention or a metal guitar players convention or something like that, you would be dealing with very different egos and very different atmospheres, because the harmonica players are generally happy to help one another, and they feel that they have a common bond because we are an oppressed minority. And You know, I mean, the world is still full of people who say, oh, that's not a real instrument. So that is what we're all up against. The only other instrument where I can see a real parallel is the pedal steel guitar. And pedal steel guitar players are also a very tight group of aficionados who almost all know each other, like a bit like the harmonica, because it's a really weird instrument and it's not everybody's thing. So the number of people who've gotten really good at it is very limited, and it's similar with the harmonica. And so I think that's the really beautiful thing about it, is that it is a universal brotherhood and sisterhood, you know, of people who are bound together by and through the instrument. And that is one of the coolest things that I've experienced in terms of having a functioning community in that sense, you know, even if it only meets every sort of, you know, irregular intervals like the World Harmonica Festival. It is a very real community, and I think everybody feels that.
Yeah. So like at the most recent WHF, like, was there like anything that stood out to you? Any surprises or rising talents or trends?
Yeah, it's a continuation of what I've observed over the last 15, 20 years, which is that the Asian players are getting ever better, and particularly now the Chinese are becoming very good, and there are some really, really accomplished diatonic players. They used to be very much focused on originally tremolo harmonicas, because you had all of these, I mean, you've seen it, you know, the harmonica orchestras with all these people with like 6 tremolo harmonicas playing Beethoven at breakneck speed and switching between individual 16th notes to a different instrument while they're in mid-flow, which is astounding. And then they started getting more into the chromatic, and so all of the chromatic competitions at the WHF have been won by East Asians for a long time. But this time I noticed there's a lot of very good diatonic players, and of course some of them are also now working for harmonica manufacturers, which is going to up the game for everybody. But I have to say, most of the Far Eastern players that I saw, they were technically really, really impressive, but were still a bit at the stage of playing a million notes and not quite being clear about what they wanted to say with them. And for me, the central thing in music is to know what it is that you want to convey. You know, it's like if you've got something to say, then technique is great because it'll help you say it. If you don't know what you want to say, then you might just end up playing a million notes that don't say anything. And this is common to all instruments. I mean, you know, go and listen to guitar players. There's millions of them, you know, who just but are not necessarily going to move you emotionally because it's not really very expressive. And I'm more interested in expression than in technique. Technique is overrated, in my opinion.
Yeah. I feel like also after listening like to so many chromatic players, technically at some other level, you know, I just like noticed again that like, I guess Antonio really knows what to say, you know?
He's brilliant. I love that guy. He is really, really cool. But that's because he's deeply musical, and he always was. I've known him since he was a kid, and he was always really, really good, and he was always seeing a wider picture. You know, he wasn't narrowly focused, even though he was a protege of Larry Adler. You know, and he went out and pioneered flamenco harmonica with Paco de Lucia and this kind of stuff. Fact is, he's just a cool guy who loves music, and so he'll just play whatever the moment brings him. You know, he's not sort of, and he's also, by the way, a very good diatonic player. I don't know if you've heard him play diatonic, but he's excellent. You know, I mean, of course he is. He plays everything brilliantly. So, you know, that's. I would agree with you definitely. He's a man. You know.
Nice, yeah. And then concerning the competitions, I mean, you kind of alluded to it, but a lot of Chinese competitors playing at a high level. What are your thoughts on like having so few German competitors in these competitions?
Well, I don't know really. I mean, it's the question is, do you want to compete in competitions?
Maybe that plays into it,
Traditionally,
yeah.
here it's not really so significant to people. I have the feeling.
Exactly.
I mean, it's not. I don't want to make value judgments about that because I know a lot of people who've competed, also from here, or from
Yeah.
the American continent, North America, and South America, who've come to these events and competed and won, because they were brilliant. I remember when I first encountered Carlos Del Junco, for example, where he came along and wiped the floor with everybody in the blues and jazz competitions because he just played so beautifully. And I remember that my former pupil, Mark Breitfelder, entered one of the competition. I can't remember which year it was, 97, something like that, and won it because, of course, he played great. I mean, he's a very, very good player. So there used to be possibly more from Europe or from the American continent, but now it does seem that the interest in competitions, which has always been very strong among the Asian players, I mean, you have to think, that the people who make the World Harmonica Festival possible and have done for the last 20 years are the Asian harmonica groups who come in really very significant numbers with the sole intention of winning competitions. That's why
Yeah.
they come, and they do, of course, because they've just spent, 10 hours a day practicing for the last 5 years or however long it is. So sure, they're going to be very, very good, and they're going to, and they come to win. They come with the express intention of winning. So if you don't approach that kind of contest with that mindset, or you're not interested in that mindset, then maybe you're not so likely to participate in the contest. I don't know.
Right.
I've never taken part in a music competition, so I
Me
can't
neither.
really speak on that.
Yeah, I didn't even have the opportunity. I feel like, was that
Well, you could
2000?
have done 4 years ago. Yeah, I understand what you're saying, though. Sure, of
Yeah, when
course.
was the first World Harmonica Festival I participated in?
It
2013,
well,
I guess.
probably will have been
Yeah.
13.
And I
Yeah.
already sat in the jury back then, so I didn't even have the chance to
Well, yes,
compete.
it did give you a privileged start because you were good. It was, I mean, it's like, yeah, sure, it would have looked a bit silly, really, to have done it any differently. So, I guess that's just the way it can go. But I can't imagine that you miss it very much.
No,
Not
no,
having
I don't feel
participated.
like competing in music. Yeah.
Yeah, my life would have been different had I done that. Nah, not really.
Like, is there something you would wish for in terms of like the development in the harmonica world for the next decade or so?
Well, I'd like to hear more people playing more different kinds of music, I think, especially
Yeah.
diatonic players. I love the blues. I love blues harmonica, but I don't really understand the obsessive focus on it, which a lot of players have. I mean, yeah, it's deep shit, of course. Fuck yeah. If you want, to get to the bottom of that kind of stuff, if you really want to study how to sound like Howling Wolf, for example, well, you're going to need the physical build to do it, first of all, of course, But that is stuff where you're talking about intangibles, which are really quite deep and quite difficult to imitate. I would be happy to just hear people playing with a bit more harmonic and melodic awareness, I think. Because for me, everything I play melodies. I I mean, when I was much younger, I used to try to play very fast runs, sure, everybody does. But now I don't really anymore, and I'm much more concerned with playing something which hits home, something which the listener is going to remember and say, oh, that was cool. And you can do that with one note. You don't have to play a lot of notes. You have to play
Yeah.
the right note at the right time, and then it will convey something. And I'm personally interested in that, so I would really be happy to hear. That's why I hope that more people will adopt these tunings, the country tuning and the natural minor tuning, which I've got on the Steve Baker signature harps, because they really do broaden your possibilities, your range of possibilities, and if you learn to use them, they will broaden your musical horizons. And that's something I would wish for. I would like to hear more focused, intelligent harmonica playing, not aimed at impressing with virtuosity, not aimed at imitating dead black guys, but aimed at playing cool music in the contexts that they are interested in working in. And that's what would mean something to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember, I'm not sure if that's the way it was, but a few years ago I did like a reggae harmonica challenge online, and I thought, whom could I ask as a judge for this?
Yeah,
And
right,
I
I
think I
remember.
asked you, right?
You did, yeah, sure.
Because I really thought like, which diatonic player really got the feel for that style down, and like the way that laid back kind of vibe works,
Yeah, sure. I've recorded a couple of reggae tunes. I've got a
Exactly.
great dub reggae number on one of my solo albums, which is called One Drop Blues, which is also on YouTube, I believe. And that's a good example for me of just how to use the harp in that kind of context. But it's like you're taking elements, of course, from blues harmonica. I'm playing it in the
Yeah.
second position and all that, but it's using the minor tuning, and it's trying to get a feel that corresponds to the genre. I mean, I grew up listening to what I remember very well when Bob Marley hit, because that really turned people's listening habits on their heads. And before that, in Britain, there was a whole range of Jamaican music that was very popular, blue beat, ska, all that sort of
Yeah.
stuff. And so we kind of grew up listening to that. Whereas, because of course there was a big Jamaican community as well, big Caribbean community in Britain, which there isn't here, so you're not quite so likely to get the exposure to it. But it's a nice genre to play in. But I feel the same. I mean, I love country music. I really, really like not sort of syrupy commercial country music, but string band music, mountain music. The more sort of traditionally orientated stuff mixed up with country swing and things like that, because there's just a wealth of really cool music, which, of course, if you have a country tuned harmonica, you can own it. So that is, is something where I love playing stuff like that. So one of the things I regret is that I've never actually had the opportunity to play in a good country band.
Yeah.
Because I've done dozens of sessions, probably hundreds, for country artists, but I've never really had a band that would play that stuff live, and I'd love to do that. I like it.
Right, yeah. So now with the Christmas coming up and stuff, we got like a Christmas harmonica challenge coming up too. Are there like any melodies you like to play in that realm?
At Christmas, well, let me see. I mean, there are the. I can't remember how it goes,
But yeah, that's
I
making
would,
good
I would
use
have
of
a
the
crack
country
at White
tuning. Yeah.
Christmas, probably. But no, not really. I'm not exactly. I mean, I used to go out singing Christmas carols as a kid in London because that was one of the things that you did, and I enjoyed singing the songs, but I can't really say that I've been moved to adapt them for the harmonica or anything like that. But each to his own, you know. I mean, if you've got a Christmas challenge, what are you going to be doing on it?
I mean, I'm not gonna play,
No, I
but,
realize.
but
What are they going to play?
yeah, I think I really got into it at some point because then I recorded a video with like many Christmas songs, and then we recorded the Christmas album last year.
Right, last year, no?
Me and my pianist, and
Yeah.
now it's a lot of fun. And
Okay.
automatically, you're playing a lot more Christmas music than you thought you would in December.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I know that Mark Breitfelder and Georg Schröter go out every year and
Oh, yeah.
do a Christmas concert series. For me, it's just never really appealed to me, you know. I mean, I don't belong to this particular religion, and I'm not, you know, somebody who, for me, Christmas is a holiday that's nice, you know, and I like the family side of it and all that. But I can't really say. For me, I mean, it's like Christmas is the time of year where I go into the gym and they're playing Christmas songs on the, you know, the sound system, so I can work out listening to Christmas rock songs or something like that. But I don't really. I don't feel moved to play them myself. No, not really.
Yeah. But then, Mel, you just started out to play, makes good use of the country tuning too.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah, sure, yeah, sure. I mean, you always can, you know, but it's I'd probably have to learn some, and if it were required, then I would probably be able to do it. But it's not an idea that would occur to me myself, I have to say.
Yeah. Awesome. I think that's a lot of stuff we covered tonight.
Quite a bit, you know. If there's any interesting questions, maybe have a look, and otherwise we can, as far as I'm concerned, I think I've said what I wanted to say.
Marcus
If
Cole
there's
is
anything-
tuning in, Alexei Kormin, some familiar names here,
Hey,
Hank
hi.
Shreve, and some fans from and players from Ukraine who would love to interview you for their channel.
They can very willingly send me an email, steve@stevebaker.de. You can reach me there.
Yeah, and otherwise I put your website and your social media in the description box below the video. Oh, yeah. Guess that's it. Well, are there like any new musical ideas or projects you're currently excited about?
Well, I'm enjoying playing my own material with my band, The Live Wires. It's getting harder to get enough well-paid gigs so I can afford to pay them. But for me, that's been one of the most rewarding things I've ever done. I'm not really looking now at making any more albums because physical albums, it's just you
Oh, yeah.
spend a ton of money and then you can't get it back. So I'm considering recording some stuff just for streams. And you know, just because I enjoy recording music, basically, I love doing it. But I can't afford to keep on, you know, dropping 15 grand to make an album and then not being able to earn it back. It's a big investment in your own self-indulgence, if you know what I mean. So I'm thinking about doing, you know, some more recording. I've got songs, I've got stuff that's coming up that I'm working on. But in the end, I made 3 albums of original songs, so I've got like a repertoire of, I don't know, 3 dozen originals, which I really enjoy playing. And so that's kind of it. I have the feeling, well, that's enough to be getting on with, you know. And I'll see what the future brings and how the spirit moves me, because I don't really feel under any pressure to do stuff like, you know, it's just really simply I did it because I wanted to, you know. After reinventing myself in my mid-60s as a singer and songwriter, I think, well, I'm happy with what came out. I think the music's pretty good. and the songs are good, and so I'm just happy to get out and play them whenever I can. Really, that's that for me is the greatest reward. And learning to sing has been one of the most rewarding things that I've ever done.
Oh yeah.
Which hangs together very closely with that. So really, that's what I'm concentrating on now. And maybe become a better guitar player. That would be nice too.
Oh, cool. Maybe last question, and this one's late. Will you be touring Europe with the signature harps in 2026? And if so, any plans for Ireland?
Oh, I'd love to go to Ireland, but you'd have to invite me. Just drop me a mail, No, not at the moment. It's in the end, it's really quite difficult to, unless you've got international agencies who are booking you, it's not that easy to get that amount of stuff. If people call, that's brilliant, and I'm happy to come if people want to hear me play. But proactively going out and organising a tour of Ireland or something like that, even though I'm sure it will be wonderful, would be beyond my limited means, basically.
Yeah. This next message already says he's invited.
Thank you. Contact me directly and we'll be happy to oblige you, sir.
Nice. Thank you so much for taking the time tonight to join us.
It's been a pleasure, Konstantin. It's really nice. I hope that it's been interesting for the people who tuned in. And like I say, check out these two tunings because they are really cool and they can really expand your horizons if your horizons need expanding. And who am I to judge that? But thanks, Konstantin. It was a pleasure. Nice to see you, and all the best.
Oh, yes. Thank you, and everybody out there, we got the Christmas Harmonica Challenge coming up on Sunday. That's December 14th on Twitch, and just the day after on Monday. So next week from now, we're going to talk to Antonio Serrano and his signature model. Yeah, same time, same place. So thank you for tuning in. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
My lady, you know me, no forgive up on you never. Wanna be with you forever, 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 forever. Oh baby, where we they go, now forward ever, backward never. Them they pray make we run down never, 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 never. I'ma get back low. Girl, you're the best I know. Our next move, they never know. They never know. Money go check I know. Girl, you're the best I know. Our next move, they never know. They never